Greg Popovich. You can go down the list. Steve Kerr.
Paul George knocks down his first field goal.
The mentality of these Raptors guys, just win a playoff series.
And Lowry is real struggling to start game one here. Paul George, meanwhile, quickly up to Stuckey. Blocked by Patterson. Oh, he sent it the other way and kept it in bounds. But George took it back and scores the bucket. Paul George looking like C.J. Miles from deep. And he knocks down the three to quiet the crowd. A 2-for-1 situation if the Raptors want it. And George with the steal. Great save to Ellis. Ellis on the 3-on-2, blocked by Biombo. Traffic and lost the handle. George for three, and a good start in the third quarter for Paul George, and that is the first lead of the ball game for the Indiana Pacers.
You're older.
Nice feed inside. Valanciunas keeping him off the boards. George looking for the contact, made the bucket anyway. Detroit against Cleveland tomorrow on ABC. Stan Van Gundy, the coach of the Pistons, as George knocks down the baseline jumper.
Together. And they better make sure they're in this together over this final 15.
Paul George starting to heat up. A wide open three, and George knocks it down. PG-13, and yeah, you might need some parental guidance to watch him right now. George with the steal. And he slams it home. A 16-point third quarter, 17 in that hot third quarter. Forced to pass to Stuckey, and he drills the three ball. George for three, launches, got it! Wet, Paul George. Here's Paul George again. Biombo with good help defense, didn't matter.
And you have to be willing to be this guy right now if you're Paul George.
George to Turner, the rookie, who finishes on the sweet pick and roll.
To deal. This is why you acquire them, right? To guard these elite wings.
Another good pass by George for an easy deuce from Turner. A little showdown here against Amari DeCaro, their elite defender. And George put him on ice. Deep freeze, an 8-point Pacer lead. Paul George has been the story of the second half for the Pacers, and Monte Ellis giving his buddy a little bit of help there with the three. Playoff game, dating back a couple of playoff seasons. George from the baseline, got it! So the fun has begun. The Pacers, who missed the playoffs last season, back in a big way, and they take game one, 100-90 behind Paul George.
6 of 7 instead of 4 of 14. Like he was in game one. Paul George checks back in and picks up the foul. Here's George, rises up and one. So Paul George is going to head to the free throw line.
By Mahinmi, beautiful job by Lowry.
That ended a 9-0 run, but there heating up is Paul George. George and a turnover. Here's Ellis with it. Ellis so quick right to the rim. It's wide. They gave him a 4-year deal in the offseason. You saw his jersey actually come out of his shorts with no call. And George the other way. Ellis quickly ahead. George Hill comes up short, gets his own rebound. Paul George.
Hey, that's transition defense.
As they can sag off of him. Here's Paul George, and George, another great performance by Norman Powell. Hill now finds George, fading, tough shot. And that's why he's an elite scorer in the league.
In the playoffs, you gotta have a big that can catch it at the back end of the shot clock and make a play.
George quiets the crowd quickly with his Game 2 victory, 98-87. The series is tied at one game.
To make changes, especially the losing team. Here's Paul George inside, and now George Hill for three. On the board first, Indiana. George Hill got up in the air, ball tip. Allen has it. Now George on the baseline. First field goal for PG, games of 33.
Starts the mismatch with Carroll. Paul George misdribbles it, but gets it back.
Now George again, just outside the free throw line, and he's got 6.
And he feels like he's got to do it early.
Three is long. George attacking. Paul George with 8 points.
That was a great
They get the switch. Bismack on him to the cutting George. George with the layup.
4. And tonight, they've only given up 1, so they've done a good job chasing people off the line.
And a slam dunk now for
Get
Mahimi.
those looks. They're good shots.
George gives it now. Turner, emphatic slam dunk. 13-point game. Drives, gives it up. Turner. And Miles Turner in game 3. Series tied at 1. Solomon Hill connects. That's the 4th made 3. DeRozan back out on the floor.
Look at
Oh, he is all over George. Turner with the soft touch.
Well,
Carroll in that series averaged just under 9 points last year in the playoffs as George gets a slam dunk. Pass picked off. And a foul. George gives it to Solomon Hill. Norman Powell checking in for the first time, and George makes his first 3.
Toronto wins this one here in Indianapolis, Indiana at Bankers Live, 101-85 to take the series lead. 2 games to 1.
Deflect. Well, 5 minutes gone by here in the first. Mahimi as Scola tried to draw the foul. Rosen. He had the shot passed up. 3-on-1 for Indiana. And it's finished by George.
Sigma impersonation, the Sigma move as it's been called for years.
Oh, here's George able to penetrate. Oh, Jack Sigma has been working with Jonas Valanciunas. Lowry have evolved into one of the most dynamic backcourts in the NBA as Paul George. Now 5 for 7 from the field. Missed his first 8 shots of this series. Another turnover leading to this.
Exactly.
Here's DeRozan. Shot clock violation. And then a turnover by Indiana.
Downtown. George put the brakes on, and the Toronto bench wanted to travel.
Understands basketball at a very high level.
Shot clock to 3. George lost it. Mahimi on the recovery. The poor outing on Thursday night in Game 3. Tie up the series 2 apiece. Game 5 will be played back in Toronto next Tuesday. And now, Kevin, it is a series.
Paul George gets off the first shot, and easy for him in the paint. Last 3 games coming off that knee injury, knee surgery. And another turnover, so Valanciunas being dogged on the other end, and in transition, Ellis gets the friendly roll, court set for Indiana.
Frank Vogel talked about it in our meeting, said after the All-Star break, and there's Miles Turner, the rookie, being comfortable knocking down.
Oh, it's blocked by Turner. Met him at the rim and denied it. In the corner goes Paul George.
You can see right now they're back in this game, but Carroll is a guy who is flat out can shoot the basketball from the 3-point line, and there's Miles Turner again in the paint.
Monte Ellis with a couple of fouls. Stuckey loses the handle. He thought he was fouled. In the corner goes Paul George. Below with Valanciunas. A lot of question whether he would even be able to play today and how many minutes he'd be able to give with a sore back as George knocks one down once again. George patient, steps inside the arc and delivers.
He's done a nice job for the Raptors.
George finds Turner, takes the contact, and finishes off the window. Miles. Corner, C.J. Miles can't hit it. And a rebound by Allen, offensive board. George cashes it in. 11 3-point makes for the Pacers. Patterson starting this one, his first start going back into the 15 season. Back in February is Mahimi battling that bad TNT. Boston and Atlanta coming up next. This is a Game 5 and a 2-2 setting and a finish at the rim by Paul George. Counters Paul George's 26 points. Here's George for 3. He's got it. PG 30.
Pacers are upset. Call didn't go their way.
Paul George will step back jumper. Got it over Carroll.
All has to go through him in these last few seconds and in the fourth quarter way he's playing.
Up top on the lob. That's Turner with the final stanza. DeRozan got caught in the air. And it's George who comes away with it. And it's fumbled. That's the way the quarter will end. Just one shot in this fourth quarter. That was C.J. Miles. And now George, a little spin, gets it to go. So Paul George scores for the first time in the quarter to make it a 4-point. Turner and Hill, and it is back tapped out to George. Now Solomon Hill buries a three in the corner. Huge shot. Solomon Hill delivers in the clutch. Kept it alive. He hits the three. 1-point game. The quick stop. Knocked them both down. Get it to Hill again. Now Monte Ellis. Guarded by Lowry. Ellis trying to go strong. Can't get it. Biyombo. That's off of Biyombo. They're looking for George. And he's got George. The catch. Dish. Solomon Hill. Oh, it goes. Did he get it off in time? A three-pointer by Solomon Hill. As the officials will confer, decision has been made. No basket. Toronto wins it. An incredible comeback win. Outscoring the Pacers 25-9. And the Raptors take a 3-2 advantage. Set up for a game 6 in Indiana.
Lowry in trouble. Turns it over. Ellis. And now George with it. To Ellis. And he puts it in. Finally, the Pacers get out. And
he saved that game for that group. 10 points in that fourth quarter as well.
He had 7 rebounds in that fourth quarter.
Indiana's had trouble with Biyombo during the regular season as well. He had a 25-rebound game in the regular year. Solomon Hill with a second three.
Points per game off of drive. Only 4.5 here in this series.
George for three. There it is! His first basket. It's a big one. The Pacers back within 2. DeRozan goes behind the back. Good D by George. George Hill has it. Finds Paul George. 2 seconds left. To the corner. Ellis, good if it goes. It won't. 5. Here's Ellis. Tries a three. And gets it. Monte Ellis with his first three-pointer of the night. Got the switch. Lowry covering Paul George. George will shoot over him and connect. His first attempt of the half. And it goes down. A 13-point lead to lose. Stuckey finds George underneath, and Paul George with his third field goal. The first half, he had 9 in the third. George fires to Turner, who scores, and the lead is double figures for the first time. All 5 Pacers starters in double figures. Powell down the lane, lost it. Here's George for 2. George leaves it for Hill. And Solomon Hill continues to torch the Nets in the series from 3-point line.
Just play with your natural instincts. Play as hard as you can. They'll feed off the crowd as George gets that to go.
The opposite of what we saw in Game 5. DeLon Wright, rookie from Utah, on the floor. He promptly turns it over. George! Oh, and whenever you see Paul George hit the deck like that. And now we go to Game 7 as Ross connects on the 3. Sunday in Toronto. Will this be the last time Pacer fans get to celebrate their team? Or will they go to Toronto, extend momentum to Game 7, and win a series? Can the Raptors finally, after a 15-year drought, win a best-of-7?
Pacers come the other way. 5-on-4 right now. Lowry late to get back. George a 3. Paul George quiets the crowd.
Well, you talked about it, Ian. That's why it's going to happen. You mentioned it, so they're going to slow it down.
The power of announcers.
Yeah.
George breaking free. Reverse.
Toronto best in the playoffs in second chance points. Almost 16 a game. Valanciunas on the spot there.
George pulls the trigger and hits a 3. 9 points for DeRozan. And a 3-point lead for Toronto. George, contact from Carroll. It doesn't matter. So tough to stop Paul George. And Toronto's lead is 3. Ball movement. George is back in. That's a 3. We're tied. Paul George splash from the outside.
For him to get his hand in there, lucky to get the ball and not pick up another personal foul.
Rolling to the rim. Valanciunas loses it. And now Solomon Hill looking to break out. He's fouled by Lowry at midcourt. In all of Game 6, George, the fake, hangs, and hits. Paul George.
His field goal attempts, 2-pointers, 60% field goal attempts from 3. That's where he lives.
Paul George answers with a triple. George, attack mode. Gives it up for the lay-in. Mahinmi underneath. 3 of 11 from the field. George stumbles, crosses over, and hits.
Unbelievable. I mean, for him to keep his balance there, I think his hand even touched to get to the middle. Ellis in the phone booth there, not much room, one quick dribble, and he scores.
And another steal. George. Raptors come away with it. They got to foul him. DeRozan gets it across. Time ticking away. And a foul call. He has not missed at the line. Key free throws. 2 out of 2 for DeRozan. Trigger man is Ellis. Catch and shoot. It's George. Rainbow 3 doesn't go. Biombo with the board. It's over. The Raptors survive. Toronto wins its first playoff series since 2001. They take out the Pacers in 7 games to advance to the Eastern Conference semifinals.